Hello, welcome to the Pathways Virtual Support Session for March 8th. Our agenda tonight, we've got a reminder about the Basecamp email and some more information on that. We're going to go over some questions. They may be questions from you or from the webinars that Toastmasters International has for your Pathways guides. I am your Pathways guide, TKO Gary. And then we also have some resources from other districts. And should there be additional questions that are needed, we will meet for 30 minutes. I'm using the free version of Zoom. It's a 40-minute window for that if there's 3 or more participants. And if there's a need for us to continue, we can log off and sign back in again and proceed for another 30 minutes. So the first slide that we have here is, can I finish my current achievement and work pathways at the same time? Yes, you've got approximately 2 years, that is until June 30th, 2020, to complete any educational or leadership achievements in the traditional program, which is what the program is called that we've had up until now with the paper manuals. So go ahead, work on both of them at the same time, one or the other, your choice. You can jump into pathways completely now, or you can work on an achievement in the current environment and finish that in this traditional program. So question number 2, what can we use in our guest packets that talk about pathways? Well, there are a couple of options. You can direct guests to the Pathways Icebreaker, which is online. You can provide a direct link to the Icebreaker or to the Pathways page. Now remember, if you do go to the Pathways page, the Icebreaker is quite a ways down on that page, so tell guests to scroll down to almost the end of the page past the schedule of rollouts to find the Icebreaker. Personally, I like sending them right to the Pathways Icebreaker. There's also a couple of flyers that you can use around for marketing and promotion, and if you want to, you can also include that in some packets. There is a flyer that's for the community and open clubs, and then there's also one designed for corporate and organization clubs. You can interchange, use both, one or the other, your choice. Gets the word out, and it talks a little bit about pathways in the marketing. So our last question has to do with the Basecamp Manager email, which is the email that's used for the club, and that's the email that's registered with Toastmasters.org associated with your club. Any club officer can change that, and that's the email that gets posted, if you have an email there, when somebody does find a club and they find your club. So when it says email the club, this is the email that they're talking about. So the question is, our club email belongs to the Vice President of Public Relations, as they are the ones who respond to inquiries from people who find our club on Find a Club. Can Toastmasters International just forward Pathways emails to the right officer, that is, Vice President of Education for Pathways? Or could Toastmasters International just add the Vice President of Education to the email distribution on the club email? So Toastmasters International has said that each club can determine how they would like to operate regarding the club email. The question to ask is, will the member be served in a timely manner? That is, if the Vice President of Public Relations is getting these emails, will they, if somebody's completed a level, that is, will they forward that email to the right person in a prompt manner? And also, is there clarity on who will handle the email? The Vice President, the President, and the Secretary are all eligible to serve as Basecamp managers should somebody submit an educational achievement and then needs to be action taken. So Toastmasters suggests having one email for everybody that's an officer, specifically the Vice President, President, and Secretary, and it could also include the Vice President of Public Relations. That way people will know, has somebody responded already? Is somebody taken action? Is there correspondence going on? And the Public Relations officer could also get that if there's anybody calling to inquire about the club. There will be quite a bit of different communication on those emails. So it's up to the club, but Toastmasters International thinks that one email accessible by at least the Vice President of Education, Secretary, and President will ensure knowledge of who and when responses are made. So in the Basecamp Manager duties, District 57 had put together some material on their on a website, and I've extracted a couple of those that seemed to be good reminders. So what do I need to do in Basecamp to support my club members? So in each club, the Vice President of Education, which is the primary Basecamp manager, backed up by the President and the Secretary, actually they serve as the base camp manager, excuse me, with support from the club president and secretary. So the vice president of education is responsible for conducting several tasks in base camp to ensure members are fully supported on their Pathways journey. Now, there are tutorials in base camp that walk you through the specifics, and they can be accessed by navigating to tutorials and resources in your Pathways environment. So the second part of this is level completion. So vice presidents of education receive emails from Basecamp notifying that there are level completion requests requiring attention. It's important for the vice president of education to respond as quickly as possible to ensure members can move forward on their path. As each member completes a level, they are awarded the certificate. Now, they can print the certificate themselves, but many clubs choose to award level completion certificates at club meetings to honor the efforts of their members. Now, there are tutorials on responding to level completion requests and printing certificates on the paths on Basecamp. So you can go ahead and check that out for the tutorials. Path completion in printed materials. Now, some members are choosing to use printed materials. The Vice President of Education is responsible for verifying the project, level, and path completions for members using printed materials. Members using printed materials will need the Vice President of Education to print their certificates as well. Now, there are tutorials in this environment for validating project and level completion and for printing certificates. For projects outside the club, and this is where an educational activity is, like a manual speech or something like that, is going to be conducted outside of the club. So many club members fulfill project requirements outside the club. In order to do so, they must submit a request for external training, that is the curriculum, to complete a Pathways assignment. When a request is submitted, the email listed is the club email, which is also used on Find a Club, the Basecamp Manager email that we were talking about earlier, will receive an email from Basecamp notifying that an approval or a denial is needed. After the member has completed their external training, they will submit a completion request. Basecamp will send the email with a notification of the request to approve or deny the completion request. There are tutorials on this to respond to initial external training requests and responding to external training completion requests. Now, if you want more information, you can go to https://d57tm.org/pathways/. So District 57, first district that rolled out the Toastmasters International Pathways environment, has a lot of material out there. So we're very grateful to the material that they've provided. So let's take a look at a quick guide submitted by another district. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, so if you'll hold on for just a moment. This comes from our friends in Oklahoma, the Pathways Fast Start Cheat Sheet. And this is version 2.2. They've added some screenshots after finishing the icebreaker. This is also known as All You Need to Know to Get Through Level 1. So when you're getting started, to select a path is the first that's the first activity that you need to go through. So go to https://www.toastmasters.org and click on Login. You're going to see a new page with a box in the middle of the page, and you can either enter your customer number or the email address. Looks like there's a typo there, that you've registered with Toastmasters International to log in. If you haven't logged in before, click on Forget a Password, and you'll get instructions in your email. Now, when you've successfully logged in, you're going to see the welcome screen. And this environment, then you can go to the Pathways tab and click Choose a Path. In the Choose a Path box, you can scroll down if necessary on a small screen and click on Continue to Path Selection. On the Choose Your Path selection, select Basecamp to select a path. Getting printed materials is not recommended, both by this particular district and several others. They cost an extra $25 US, and there's only a few paths available, and all optional projects are pre-selected and not changeable. And the assessment is not available to you nor any of the tutorials in Basecamp. So it's really good to do Basecamp online. So select Basecamp, it takes you the assessment. Of course, we went on to do the printed materials, that's over here. Pathways will pop up a new window, which will then be, you will then be asked to select a language. In this particular environment, you must disable the pop-up blockers in your browser to see your online projects. So Toastmasters International, at least the vendor they contracted with to support this, has pop-up blockers. So you can manually change your pop-up blocker settings for this particular browser or for this particular page, or you can whitelist the page. There's help on the internet, and there's also help from Toastmasters International. Make sure that if you do disable pop-up blockers on this browser, that you're not using this browser for any other searches, because you want to make sure that you keep your environment protected from other situations where people might be trying to get in. So now you have the Pathways assignment. You want to go ahead and select English if that's your preferred lesson, and then go to Start. There's 3 topics below that you would be asked first off to say, what are you interested in learning about? So you can check 3 of these boxes and then click on Next. And then select the 3 topics you're most interested in learning more about. And then you're going to be asked a series of questions. Click on the choice you think is closest to what you have in mind and click Next. There's a completion bar showing how far through the assessment you are. Finally, you get a screen showing 3 recommended paths for you. And it'll probably be different than the one listed here, but you'll be getting 3 that matches what you've said is important. The supporting files below will give you more information on each of the paths to help you make a choice. In this particular case, the person taking this assessment got dynamic leadership, persuasive influence, and effective coaching. You can choose, if you want to, look at the other paths that are not selected for you, and you can click any of them. It's quite flexible. So pick one of the suggested paths. In this case, they did it. You'll get a confirmation email from Toastmasters International shortly after clicking that. And if you're not computer literate, get a member to show you how to give a hand to register and print out the projects for you. So there's a Paths and Project Matrix. It's a 2-pager that shows all paths and projects at each level, and a Paths and Projects catalog. It's a clickable file that lets you click on a path to see what's in each path, and then click on the project to see a fuller description of the project. So use those to decide on a path. So at this point, you've selected a path and you're ready to start on your journey. So you want to start your first project. Go back to the Basecamp screen, and on the Access My Path through Basecamp, click Login as a member. Now, if you're a member of more than one club, there's going to be a drop-down box to select the club you wish to work with. This can be changed at any time. If you're a Basecamp manager, that means you're Vice President of Education, President, or Secretary of the club. You will also see a button to log in as Basecamp Manager. So it's all in this part right here. You're then going to see the Pathways homepage. The Tutorials and Resources link takes you to a lot of good information. And on the top right, there's a tour button that helps you, that'll show you how to navigate around. The Comparability button checks 10 different configuration settings on your machine, operating system, and browser. Green is good, and red may require some setup. Click on each colored box for a description. On your Pathways homepage, click My Educational Transcript. Once your education transcript page is open, click on the Open Curriculum button besides the path you selected. Again, you may need to scroll down on small screens. So this is what it's starting to look like. And when you are starting out to look at each one of these areas, you can click Launch and then open it up, or activate, then launch, and you could work through these resources. As you complete different levels and activities in here, you're going to go ahead and see this number increase as far as percent complete. So the first project is the icebreaker. Click the Activate button and then Launch buttons. Now you can't get to the other 2 projects yet, no room buttons. If you notice, there's nothing here. That's because you need to finish the icebreaker first. That's one of the 2 speeches that you need to give in a particular order. The rest, all suggested the order that Toastmasters International has. You can choose any order you want. So the icebreaker will open in a new window, which you should enlarge so you can see the left and right navigation arrows. They'll be on the sides. Click Begin and then follow the prompts. And this is this area where it says Select to move to another screen. That's what this blue box is over here. So there's a number of sections to the icebreaker assignment, as seen to the left, and work your way through these. You'll go through one at a time. One of the first section contains a project checklist to ensure you miss nothing. The icebreaker has 4 sections, and other projects are more complex. The icebreaker includes a speech outline worksheet to allow you to collect the information and your thoughts and finally arrange your speech. When you come to the resources such as project and evaluations form, which you will need to bring with you to the meeting, print off and or save them as PDFs. You can also get to these from tutorials and resources link on the Pathways homepage. Now prepare and practice your speech. When you're ready, organize a speech slot with your Vice President of Education and take your evaluation pages with you for the evaluator to fill in. Alternately, you can use the evaluation resource that the evaluator downloads it and the evaluator could fill it in. So every single one of the evaluations that are available, anybody can go download that's a member in your club environment, actually the district environment. Now, when you go back to your educational transcript, you're going to see that the icebreaker has a little tick mark, and there's now an activate button besides the next two projects. Click the active and launch to access them. And again, the level 1 completion is not available until you finish the next two projects. So here's the activate, and when you've gotten that started, you'll go ahead and change to launch when you've gotten the material done on the first project in there. Now, congratulations, you've finished your first Pathways project. Yay! Now, when you complete projects and levels, here's something else to be thinking about. When you reopen a project and complete an assessment skills after, there's no approval needed, which is nice, right? So when you first open your path, only the icebreaker was available to open. When you complete the assess skills after and submit it, the system marks this first project as done and allows you to see the remaining projects in level 1. Similarly, after finishing the other two projects in level 1, reopen and go to assess your skills after and complete. You'll see a tick up here against the project. So when all three have been finished, the level 1 completion will become available. Now, when you complete a level, you want to run the level completion task, which is that one that's at the bottom. And if you're a member of a number of clubs, make sure that you are logged in to the club that you want to receive the credit. It's very, very important because it's all structured. So that would be the way that that Vice President of Education knows that you want to submit something to their club. The Basecamp Manager. Now notify your Vice President of Education and the Basecamp managers who will then approve your level completion, which will enable you to see the details of the project in the next level. Keep in mind the Basecamp managers are the Vice President of Education, the President, and the Secretary. So the Vice President of Education or any officer then does go over to Club Central in the current standard environment, the traditional environment, and enter that achievement. You're right, the two systems aren't quite linked yet. So just a reminder, all evaluation resources are available to all members on Basecamp. So you can pick off, you don't have to wait for somebody to email it to you or anything like that. Evaluations downloaded that way are PDF fillable forms. Now, if you're not computer literate, you can get a fellow member who is to give you a hand to register and print out the projects for you. Once you've printed out all the project materials, you can do the entire project without going back to the computer until you need to complete your Assess Your Skills after session. So that is today's material for our March 8th Virtual Pathways support session. Just looking to see if there's anything in the chat room. I don't see anything. So we're going to go ahead and close this particular session and we'll post that. Feel free to send any questions that you might have to tkogeary@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing about your exciting success in Pathways.